Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. We got some major news. Donald Trump for president just posted a post 6 hours ago, exposing raw data specifically from the state of Carolina. It says here, holy crap. North Carolina Republicans have gained voters on Democrats to the tune of thousands for 19 straight weeks. And the Republican lead is now approaching 100,000. That's right. Republicans are leading in North Carolina. This never used to be the case. Democrats have pretty much led the state of North Carolina, in my view, forever. I think Republicans, this is the very first time in history they are leading in the state in general. We got to talk more about North Carolina, but we're going to have to finish up what he's saying. This comes as Republicans look to elect Michael Whatley to the Senate in 2026, keep the momentum going, and take North Carolina off the table for Democrats. So, yeah. You heard that right. Republicans now lead in registration. This is huge because we're looking at, obviously, flipping and keeping North Carolina. We do know that North Carolina, Michael Whatley was chairman, and under his chairman leadership in 2022, he helped give Republicans numerous seats, even in the 2020 election where he helped Donald Trump overperform, where Joe Biden was said to have won North Carolina. So this is obviously huge that he actually is winning here. So looking in regards to the election, when it comes to this, we have, of course, this said race. And a lot of people seem to think that, this race is in the bag for Roy Cooper. And I highly disagree. Let's be honest. Sure, yeah, Roy Cooper is leading Michael Whatley by over 9-7 points. Like Red Eagle said today, it's because Roy Cooper, has the name recognition. He's overrated. Michael Whatley, no one really knows who he is, but obviously when he starts campaigning, when he wins the primary, and that's assuming that no one major comes in and butts him out, people will start to recognize Michael Whatley, and they're going to end up realizing that he is a very, 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 very intelligent candidate. So, and obviously, this goes into play where, Roy Cooper, if you look at demographics, you look at the results of 2022, it's very, very, very unlikely that Democrats are going to turn out for him. The centrist, we're the far left populists, they tell us all the time, it's like people like Roy Cooper that results to Democrats losing. Even though I will agree with them half of the time, it's not like they're any better. That's for sure. When we're looking specifically at people like Roy Cooper, it's not that he's running on the right ideals. He should try to distance himself. He can't go on the offensive of Trump. If he goes on an anti-Trump spree, he's going to lose. And he needs to realize this. He needs to focus on the more fiscal issues. But then again, he needs to arouse his base. And that's not going to be enough to do that. And let's be honest. The reason why we've seen victories like in 2024 in North Carolina was mainly because because Republicans backed Josh Stein. You had Republican women being turned off of the comments made by Mark Robinson, which were very inappropriate. And it wasn't just the comments alone. He just also had a lot of skeletons in his closet. And you cannot argue, like I've said this before, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks, a month ago. I'll say it again. You cannot argue with me that this Republicans did not back Josh Stein, because look at this map. These counties, and we can even pull up a 2024 map and actually compare it to the elections of 2024 in the gubernatorial race, because this will say a lot. We're looking at North Carolina. Yes, we're talking about counties that are really 60%. All right, we're looking at these 60% counties. They're now in the 50s, okay? What about counties that voted for Trump by 70%? Yeah. This one is a 70% county. It went down to the 50. So basically, 20% of Trump supporters in this county alone backed Stein. You take a look at this county, 60% Republican. I think that's New Brunswick County. This county right here, my goodness. New Brunswick County, a 60% Trumpian county, it backed Stein. So here you go, a majority Trump county, 60% MAGA Republican, and they publicly back Josh Stein. It's fascinating. So it's quite obvious when you look at here. So that Josh Stein appealed to Trump voters. So, but I have a feeling that, Mark Robinson didn't really campaign with Trump. In fact, he tried to stay away from Trump. And I think he was I think he was doing that more in Trump's favor because he knew that he had skeletons in his closet. He knew that obviously that if he tried to get close to Trump with these skeletons, he might get some skeleton dust on to Trump, and he doesn't want that. And that's good of him. We applaud you for that, Mark Robinson. We do. Good job, Mark Robinson, but I think your career is over. Let's be honest, pal. Your career is over. I don't have a problem with Mark Robinson, but let's be honest. If it's going to look like this all the time, don't bother running. So, yes, I do think, like, when it comes to this, yeah, why I bring 2024 up is to prove that really, by the argument, a lot of people will ask, oh, well, what if Roy Cooper take Trump votes? I think it's less likely because we take a look at Roy Cooper's performances throughout his history. Specifically, let's use 2016 and 2020. Well, how about 2020? That's more recent. Yeah, I mean, sure, you do have some Trumpian votes going into that direction. Let's see here. Yeah, it's not a bigger swing. You do have Scotland County that ended up going for Cooper, and it flipped to Trump. But this really wasn't really a surprise because going into the 2020 election, Scotland County was pretty Democratic. It did vote against Trump for Hillary and voted for Hillary Clinton. So that's a county that you should relatively bring up. There's also this county right up here. That was somewhat of a surprise. Roy Cooper is popular, don't get me wrong, but let's be honest, it's going to be 6 years later. This guy, how long was this guy in politics? This guy was in politics since the 80s, 1987, but at large office, if you want to look at an at-large office, he was really in office since 2001. Or if you want to count the North Carolina majority leader position, 1997. Okay, this guy's been on the ballot as maybe as short, more less than Sherrod Brown. Let's be fair here. Less often than Sherrod Brown, who is going to lose regardless. But Roy Cooper, his jazz is wearing off. We can even check in his entire electoral history. We did that before, but we'll do it as a reminder. 2000, he won the North Carolina Attorney General race mainly because of name recognition. We also got to remember that there are way more registered Democrats back in 2000 in North Carolina than Republicans. So this was in Roy Cooper's benefit. 2004, yeah, he gained. His popularity benefited him. And as the East was relatively very Democratic, this county, 60% Republican, used to be 70% Democratic. Things have changed. Then you got, of course, the 2008 election. He got 61%, but you can make a solid argument that this was mostly due to the waves of Barack Obama, the successful campaign of Kay Hagan. Relatively, North Carolina was viewed after the 2008 election as blue. I mean, they did have an outstanding Democratic registration. You also got here 100% because no one wanted to challenge Roy Cooper. But let's be honest, if someone challenged Roy Cooper, it wouldn't. I think it would have been less than 61%, and that's when Roy Cooper decides to run for governor, and you get a result in 2016. And obviously, let's be honest. Yes, the Attorney General office, it's a lower office. Like I said before, a lot of North Carolinians liked Roy Cooper as an Attorney General, but a lot of them, let's be honest, didn't want him to be governor. We knew this here. We knew this was the case because he was running under one of the most unpopular governors ever, Pat McCrory. Pat McCrory was one of the worst governors, and I want to believe he's one of the worst. I don't know. Yeah, he even ran for the Senate. And looking at the result, he lost bad. He only won Mecklenburg County. Hilarious. And Pat McCrory's a rhino, so it makes sense why he would win that county specifically. I would expect him to do better in the Raleigh area. But, it has to do mainly, he's from Charlotte, so that does make sense, if you are there. But he does relatively very well for an unpopular governor against Roy Cooper, who we were told was the best person ever. 2020, you go and you see that, yeah, Roy Cooper is done better. This mainly has to do with Joe Biden. Red Eagle mentioned that the COVID-19, he was viewed as more a safe option against Dan Forest. Wasn't really the strongest candidate. And it was just really generally a bad year. But of course, Roy Cooper is term limited. But here's the difference now. For the very first time in his whole career, he's running for a federal office. And we do know how this works, okay? And I like to use Montana as an example because we talk about Steve Bullock, right? I compare Roy Cooper to Steve Bullock. They're kind of like the same when it comes to their politics. But Steve Bullock was like the Roy Cooper of Montana. He was basically extremely popular, and he was going to use that as his advantage to run for governor. Now, we got to understand who Steve Bullock is. Yes, this is the primaries, really. Oh, this is just for Attorney General's election. But yes, you have the 2008 election here. I think he also ran for Senate. So we're going to go back. So we don't have 2008. That's frustrating. Okay, whatever. So there's the 2008 Attorney General race. He wins 52% against Tim Fox. You go to the actual race that matters, 2012 elections. Yeah, Steve Bullock, he underperforms as Attorney General race, obviously. Why? Because obviously Attorney General is less of an impactful office than governor. Governor makes executive decisions, while Attorney General really just enforces the law on behalf of the police. But yeah, you also got his re-election campaign. He does a bit better here. So a lot of people would go around saying, oh, he's the best thing ever. And that's what they were saying in 2020, because after that, Steve Bullock ran for the Senate. He won the nomination, and what happened? He fell. He fell apart because this guy named Steve Daines, he was the incumbent senator, part of the reason why. But a lot of people thought he would knock him out. This should give you hope for Ohio and in North Carolina. You got juggernauts like Steve Bullock. He was in office for a long time. They got tired of him. They loved him as governor, but hey, they didn't want you in the federal office. In Montana, it's a red state, okay? Blue state in state levels, but red state in federal levels, similar to North Carolina, although it's getting, and it's proven time and time again, to get more red. So that's actually making it more likely that Roy Cooper is going to actually pull this set off. And seeing that Republicans have taken the registration for the first time ever, looking at previous North Carolina voting history, let's see how this goes. So yeah, I mean, North Carolina's been a blue state for a while. Let's see here. Yeah, presidential elections in North Carolina. Yeah, it's been a blue state more than it's been a red state. It's voted more for Democrats, so understandably they probably had like 70% Democrats for a while. Even during the 80s, they were Democrats. 90s and the 2000s, and apparently then for the first time ever they are now Republican, and that actually poses the threat. Yeah, obviously North Carolina still could be seen as compatible, but this is why this is why we're still talking about North Carolina in this video, because, Roy Cooper has a chance. But when we're looking at demographics, we're looking at counties, and we're going to say, okay, where do you have room to gain? I have a hard time thinking and imagining and thinking myself that Roy Cooper is actually going to pull this off. Let's go ahead and put a Cooper versus Whatley race. And I'll update you on my current thoughts and predictions in this said election analysis. First off, you see a trend so far. Scotland County predicts the elections. Okay, it's a bellwether, and what it has done, and it's incentivized, is if Cooper or any Democrat doesn't win Scotland County, then the Democrat doesn't win. It's become that simple. Okay, we've seen this time and time again. Now, obviously, if Democrats like Cooper picked up Scotland County, and he has time and time again, then Republicans can still win without it. We saw in 2016 Donald Trump win North Carolina without Scotland County. So it's not like we got Scotland County, we're running away with it. No, we can still pick it up. It's still easy. We can still pick up North Carolina in general, but the chances go down dramatically if like Roy Cooper loses Scotland County, because Scotland County, a lot of people don't realize it, but it shows how rural voters are going for Cooper. Because obviously Scotland County, formerly I want to believe is an African American area, and we have seen areas that are often rural African American counties, along with counties that are just generally rural with some white and minority populations go to the right, and the likelihood is if you win Scotland County, then the likelihood is the countryside's going rightward, okay? And usually, we are seeing this in elections. Like, for instance, yes, Scotland County voted for Trump. You see the countryside's way more darker, okay? 2016, yeah, a little bit more lighter countryside, specifically in the East. The East countryside's a little bit more lukewarm, if you haven't noticed. And yeah, you also have the North, which is generally more solid. So pay attention. If you, on election day, North Carolina, when you're always looking at North Carolina elections, county to watch is actually not the biggest ones. It's actually the tiniest one of the tiniest, Scotland County, which has voted for Donald Trump. But it's become pretty much precedent. If you do look through the elections in history, Democrats do not, I could go through some North Carolina elections. I could go through the previous year and see if there has been an election where Democrats lost North Scotland County and it still ended up winning. I doubt that's going to be the case. We do know the gubernatorial race. And here's the thing, Josh Stein picked up Scotland County barely. He could have won, and he still would have won. He loses Scotland County by a little bit. That's not like it's been precedent though. It's not necessarily a promise. But you also got governor, you got the lieutenant governor, yes, Rachel Hunt. Actually, never mind. I was proven wrong. Darn it. But yeah, usually Scotland County, it can apparently go Democrat. North Carolina can still go blue with Scotland County's going red. I was proven wrong. I was hoping that I was going to be proven right. But I was waiting for that moment. But no. But often, it's more likely if Scotland County goes Republican, though. It's likely, more than unlikely, that Republicans are probably going to win, because it shows that they are picking up more rural areas. And I think the reason why Hunt won was mainly not just because of the rural areas. It was mostly due to because, let's see here. Yeah, you got rural areas voting out for Michael Weatherman. And you'll see Rachel Hunt, because of that, didn't breach 50%. I do think it was just because of these upper areas in the African-American area. Asheville and Buncombe County did not help. Okay, and I think Buncombe County getting more bluer, can be in Cooper's benefit if he gets those college students. But then again, here's the problem. The college students, they might come home, but maybe there was some sort of shift compared to 2022. But you had the most pressing issue in 2022, Roe v. Wade. They didn't show up to vote. They just stayed home. That showed a lack of interest and lack of momentum to come out and vote. Now, presidential election year, different, because it's where everyone comes out and votes. You also have the governor's race. So there's just a lack of energy. Maybe Asheville County goes more left, but more other areas, like even in the Raleigh area, they go more right, because just people, the low propensity, the Democrats who are low propensity, they're staying home. They're less likely to come out and vote. So you have stuff like this. I do think that what's it called? New Hanover would go blue. Obviously, I mean, we are getting good in the rural areas of northeast North Carolina. But we'll see here. Really, the toss-ups are going to be these three counties. But it's possible that Polk County might vote in the namesake of, I believe the namesake of Roy Cooper. And but then again, you can't go back to 2020. I don't think 2020, would work. The problem if we go back to 2020 and compare it to midterm results, because it's a different electorate, okay? People are coming out to vote for president. Now, you can't do that with a non-presidential year. It just does not work, especially when you have North Carolina. So, the likelihood. So, Polk County, I'm talking about counties like Polk, that are generally viewed as tossed up, these three. I do think that this county will go for Cooper. This one, it's very hard to say. It might actually look like the 2024 election results, presidential-wise. Yeah, you also got this right here. A lot of people say it could look like this result, a different result, like this. Looks similar to 2020, but the only deal is you have this county right up here. Actually, no, that's going to go more Republican. It's proven to be more conservative lately. And you also have this one going more Republican. So, I don't necessarily know. I do think if we go back to the 2022 Senate race, because I do think the Senate race tells us a lot about, then again, it's a current delegation. Now, add context. Now, Shirley Beasley I think she's generally very weak. But, yeah, obviously she was a Supreme Court justice in North Carolina. But she couldn't really pull off the best victory because, obviously, low propensity wise. But she did pick up this county that I would say that I'm not sure if Cooper would win. I think Cooper would win that. Looking down at the counties, though, unless we can actually go and... Oh, yeah, Bud was winning by 18%. Oh, never mind. This is the primary. Never mind. Let's see. 2024. Let's go North Carolina election atlas and actually see the results by Dave Leaps. 2022 Senate. But yeah, I'm looking at Hoke. Oh, not Nash. Yeah, Bud got 52%, Besley 45%. What about this county down here? Oh yeah, Wilson County. I do think with Cooper there, it's going to be more difficult. So yes, it could probably and possibly look like a 2024, and it very well could. But anyway, what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below, and as always, I'll see you on the next political episode.